Hello, and thank you so much for being with us today. I am meteorologist Leah Pizzetti, and this is Weather Out West, our show where we showcase what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. For the next hour, forecasters from our sister stations in 8 regions will bring you forecasts and explain weather phenomenon impacting people across your region. You'll find coverage from the Pacific Northwest to the Mountain West, and California to Arizona in the Southwest. And when severe weather hits, we'll be the first to alert you if it could impact people or property. That being said, there's a lot happening today where over half of the region are under weather impact alerts from summer heat and dryness and fire risk. We first go to meteorologist Ginger Jeffries in Phoenix, Arizona, where record-breaking temperatures are expected to arrive today.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries. We'll look at your weather out west in the state of Arizona, where we continue to deal with summer extremes. We have a little bit of monsoon moisture, not as active as last week, but today we are dealing with potentially what will be the hottest day of the year so far. National Weather Service issued an extreme heat warning. This went into effect on Tuesday. It goes through today and then will expire tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And notice the expanse of this. We are not alone here in Phoenix. From end to end here in the central, southern, and western part of the state, we are seeing temperatures that, wow, could be the hottest of the year. I mean, look at this. Parker closing in on 120, 118 today in Havasu, 116 in Quartzsite, 118 in Yuma, and then we've got Phoenix, 117 degrees, which will be a new record. You can see well above the normal range. Sedona, 101. I think if we're going to see some fresh records for higher elevation, we're really focused on from Sedona into Globe, where temperatures are going to get to about 106. Today in Tucson, about 110. Now, we still have a little bit of cloud cover. You can see it through the Navajo Nation, Rim, White Mountains, and also down in the southeast, because there is an outside chance at some pop-up moisture. But let's start with this. First things first, extreme heat. The forecast for today, 117. The record, 116. We're going to break it. I think there's potential that we could get up to 118 degrees, which would be the hottest day of the year so far. Tomorrow, we're staying above the normal range, which is 107, and going for highs of 114. So the record tomorrow is 115. We're definitely within reach. I think tomorrow we're going to meet the record, but again, today we should beat the record. Now, higher elevations. Notice the forecast right here and the record information. So Flagstaff doesn't look like it's going to snap their record, but Payson and Sedona certainly within that realm. Page doesn't look like it's going to get up to 111. So yeah, high pressure keeping us hot, not just in the Phoenix metro area, but now it's starting to slide off the coastline. I wish that meant immediate relief. It doesn't. It will help draw down the temperatures into the weekend, but with high pressure in charge, our numbers are going to continue to be above the normal range. Extreme levels through tomorrow. That means I'm talking about temps between about 113 to 118. So stay hydrated like, yeah, this little family. Look at that. I love it. Yvette sending me this in from Payson. And yep, even our wildlife looking for ways to stay cool right now. All right, our monsoon meter, we had to upgrade the Rim and White Mountain region to a 3. There's so much active monsoon just on the other side in New Mexico, and some of this may spill on over. Again, it just doesn't look that impressive, but based on what we saw yesterday, I mean, look at all this moisture. We are within that vicinity, and so higher terrain may get some pop-up showers later this afternoon. That's also why you're seeing a little bit of wind out there as a monsoon moves on through. We're getting some wind in the lower lying areas. So Phoenix, look for temperatures up to about 117 degrees, possibly 118. It is scorching heat with winds out of the west up to about 10 miles an hour. At times, we'll start to see that accelerate, especially after the 3 o'clock hour when that monsoon moisture is moving on through. So 5 to 10, possibly up to 13 to 15 miles an hour. Again, very similar to yesterday, that wind is starting to generate. Now, we're also seeing a little more interesting of a monsoon layer move our direction by about Sunday. Unfortunately, that doesn't have a big impact on the bottom line. Our numbers here for the valley after getting through 117 will stay above the normal range the next 7 days.
Oh, thanks, Ginger. Hopefully everybody can stay cool out there. Now let's get to Denver, where thunderstorm risk continues this week. But first, our meteorologists in Colorado are keeping an eye on triple-digit heat, also expected to arrive there today.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm meteorologist Kathy Sabin. We've issued a weather impact alert for today due to the heat and impending heat advisory for temperatures in the triple digits today, and that includes the greater Denver metropolitan area. Heat illness is a very real concern. We might see record high temperatures today, and the heat will continue tomorrow. Not quite at this level, but certainly concerns for the elderly and those at risk for maybe not staying hydrated. And you've really got to think about kids and pets and all of that during a situation like this. It's a short-term heat wave. Our forecast high is 99. If we hit 100, that would break or tie the record that was set back in 2022. We've had some hazy sunshine around the area. Elevated fire danger is something we're always concerned about in Colorado. But when you consider the moisture across the west, how limited it is compared to what's happening across the south and Midwest, well, we've got a giant heat dome that's building over the air. It's going to limit the potential for severe weather, and that'll move into Nebraska and Kansas today and then shift further toward Denver on Thursday. And this is something that we'll be watching over the next 48 hours. But for today, it is all about this heat dome and the storm track being pushed northward. So National Weather Service has issued a heat advisory for Denver, Fort Collins, and down to the Littleton area and Front Range foothills due to the potential for record high temperatures in the triple digits. And you'll notice there's limited moisture to cool us. There's a bit of cloud cover, but we're not really seeing any rain from storms. We've had microburst thunderstorms every day with wind and lightning, but not the rain. Starting in the 60s today, warming to the upper 90s to near 100 degrees. Weather impact alert is issued for today. Low 90s tomorrow. Finally cooler on Friday with a chance of rain from storms. A warm and dry Saturday, and then we're back to the 90s on Sunday and on Monday. So again, the weather impact is really the heat today, which certainly could be dangerous. So limit time outdoors.
And weather-wise, well, last night was our last 8:30 or later sunset of 2025. And if you're going, wait, didn't you just tell me it was our first 8:30 or later sunset of the year? That would be correct. So we only had about 3 weeks of 8:30 or later sunsets. Our latest sunset of the year in Denver is in late June. It's about 8:32 p.m. So 8:30 is about as late as those sunsets get. So don't take it too seriously at this point. However, if you do like those 8 p.m. or later sunsets, those really late sunsets, enjoy them while we've got them. So our next 8:30 or later sunset will be on June the 16th of 2026. All right, we're done with those. But our last 8 p.m. or later sunset of the year is about a month out, which is on August the 11th. And our last 7 p.m. or later sunset is on September the 20th. So that's about 2.5 months out. So still got some time, but if you like those kind of summer evenings, enjoying, I don't know, a little dinner outside while you still get the sun out, enjoy it while we've got it. Because right now, well, today we've got that 8:29 p.m. sunset, in a week 8:26. And final thing to note here is that we are currently losing slightly over a minute of daylight each day. And of course, we'll keep losing daylight until the winter solstice, which is in late December, when we'll have a 7:17 a.m. sunrise and a 4:38 p.m. sunset.
Oh, but don't we want to enjoy the sunshine while we can and the long days in the summer? All right, still ahead after the break, we'll keep the summer heat going in the Northwest. A look at the weather impact alerts in eastern Washington and Idaho. Welcome back. Hot and dry conditions have been persistent for eastern Washington. That continues today, but conditions are expected to calm down a bit. Let's get to Spokane with the details on this final stretch of this increased fire risk.
I'm Nicole Hernandez out in Spokane, Washington. Take a look at this beautiful live look over Riverfront Park. This is our, of course, pavilion, kind of iconic here in Spokane. I want you to take a look behind the pavilion, though. You can see some of that haze. It's kind of hard to see, but you can tell how blue the sky is up here versus down on the horizon. It is a little bit hazy. That smoke and haze is something that we are potentially going to see increase through the rest of the day. Right now, our air quality, according to the Spokane AQI, is good. We are solid throughout the entire region, but the forecast says it could get as bad as moderate. So nothing crazy, but because of some of the winds that are moving their way through our region and the other fires that are burning around our region, there is that chance that some of that smoke comes in and settles in and disrupts our air quality. Already you can see it settling as a light haze. Today we are going to be more windy than we were yesterday. Because of that, we are going to be under critical fire danger. And then again, we have that chance for that smoke and haze from the winds moving things around. Today, we are going to be a little bit cooler than we were yesterday. We're still going to be plenty warm, though. It's going to be 88 here in Spokane, the potential for 90-degree temperatures out in Coeur d'Alene. So even if you are in the 90s and it's hot, it will be a little bit cooler and you'll get a little bit of relief from how hot we were yesterday. While our temperatures are decreasing, our winds are increasing. Today, you can already see our wind gusts reaching mid 20-mile-per-hour gusts. That's going to continue increasing through the rest of the day into the afternoon. This afternoon, we see the potential for up to 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts. That, of course, is not great for fire danger. On top of wind gusts of potentially 40 miles per hour, we also are low humidity. Our humidity is going to be potentially in the teens today. Yesterday, they were even lower than that, though. But we have dry fuels, we have winds, we have dry weather as well. That, of course, all meaning the potential for wildfires. New wildfires will start more easily in conditions like this. And if they do spark, they will spread more quickly in conditions like this. So we need to be very careful to watch out for anything we're doing that could potentially spark wildfires, just being aware of that. For all of those reasons, the National Weather Service has us under a red flag warning. These red flag warnings through the entire region are going to be in effect all afternoon and into this evening as well. Same here with us. We're under that CREM 2 weather impact alert for that same reason, critical fire danger today. Tomorrow, things start to calm down a little bit. We cool down and we calm down. We've got winds that are going to be just 10 to 20 miles per hour through the region. There will be a spot or two that might see some more intense wind, but overall, region-wide winds definitely calming down. On top of that, we also get a chance for a little bit of rain. We've got some scattered showers that might move their way through tomorrow afternoon. It will likely be very small, it will be very fast, and it won't affect most of the region. Most of the region ends up seeing just a little bit of cloud cover move its way through. So these are all things happening for tomorrow. All of this is happening because of a cold front, a low pressure system that's moving its way into the region. It's causing us to cool down a little bit, have those winds, have those clouds, and have the chance for showers. Tomorrow ends up being the coolest day of the week, 81 degrees. Again, that's because of that cold front. As that cold front moves its way out, we start to see our temperatures increase. Another ridge of high pressure starts to rebuild out over us, and we get back to hot temperatures. Our meteorologist, Thomas Patrick, always calls 90 degrees hot, so I'd say that weekend temperature right there and the beginning of your next week, definitely hot.
Thank you, Nicole. Idaho, nearby, is dealing with similar increased fire risk. Let's go now to the state's capital with a look at how much longer hot and dry conditions will continue.
Hello, my name is Hector Mendoza, and here I'm forecasting out of Boise, Idaho. And yesterday, it was a scorcher of a day in the Treasure Valley, and it was hard to escape some of the heat as we were into the 90s there in places in the mountains, near triple digits there for Jerome and Twin Falls and portions of the Magic Valley. But there's two spots I want to pay attention to in particular as we look at Boise there at 104 and Twin Falls at 98, which both set records yesterday, which both of them previously were set back in 2017. But that 104 in Boise yesterday tied the record, as well as the 98-degree temperature out in Twin Falls. So again, may not see temperatures this hot into this afternoon, but still another hot day. That is why we are going to continue to see some of the heat for this afternoon. But we are already adding on and tacked on a third day this year, as the first time we saw triple digits this year was at the end of May. To begin the month of July was day number 2, and then yesterday is where we saw day number 3 of days at or above 100 degrees so far for this year. But After tracking some of the heat from yesterday, the impacts we're going to be seeing for today is some isolated storms that come along, but some of these storms could turn severe later on into the afternoon. So that's something that we're really going to pay attention to. We'll have some strong winds that come along, but then we'll start to see them drop down closer to more breezier conditions as we head on into Thursday. So not really paying attention too much there onto the winds, but still sticking around till Thursday before we start to see more seasonable temperatures. And then we'll start to see those temperatures climb heading into the weekend. But this is going to be the setup that we're going to be seeing now. So as we'll continue with some of the heat, we do have the system there on continuing its way through Northern California. It's going to make its way into our area for this afternoon. And that's what's going to increase the chances to see some of those thunderstorms and then even see some of those winds really pick up. Then after that, we're going to have a cold front that rolls through to drop down some of our temperatures into tomorrow. And again, as we talk about some of the storms, everything shaded in this darker green is where we anticipate seeing a level 1 or marginal risk for the potential of some severe thunderstorms. So not everyone is going to see some of those storms, but the places that do could see some lightning strikes, some winds up to 60 miles an hour. Other spots could see some of those outflow winds from the storms, although may not see some of the storms in your area, but still could see some of those winds get from 30 to 55 miles per hour when we're talking about some of those wind gusts. So looking at our future cast, we're going to continue on, and that's not towards the evening that we start to see some of those storms roll through. The potential there in the Treasure Valley, that looks to start to fizzle out as we get closer towards sunset and beyond. Then we're not going to see some of those storms fizzle out till closer to midnight in some of those mountain areas. And then after that system rolls through, some of those storm chances make their way out. We start to see much drier conditions as we head on into Thursday, and those temperatures will slowly start to climb up as we get into Friday and then passing on into Saturday. But again, for today, the biggest thing was some of the lightning that we could see, increased winds, and then the chance to see some of those drier fuels and low humidity. We see the increase in some of the fire danger, and because of that, we have fire weather warnings in place for the Treasure Valley, the Magic Valley, extending on into eastern Idaho, again, due to the impacts to some of the storms that could roll through later on this afternoon. And for that, we do have first alert weather conditions set for the afternoon due to some of the winds and the storms that come along. We'll see windier conditions here in the Magic Valley. We'll start to rise up, getting closer to 90 as we head on into Saturday. And then as we look at the 7-day forecast here for Boise, very similar setup here this afternoon with first alert weather conditions. Then we'll start to see breezier conditions, so those winds will start to dial back a bit there as we head on into Thursday. Temperatures into the upper 80s, and we'll see much lighter winds into Friday, more seasonable territory there into Friday into the low 90s. And then we're going to start to slowly rise back up into the upper 90s near triple digits for the beginning of next week.
Still ahead after the break, we'll head to the Golden State, where summer blasts the region as well. High heat concerns and wildfire threat are top of mind in California. Those forecasts still ahead. Welcome back to Weather Out West. We're glad you're staying with us. The Golden State is earning its name today. Hot and dry conditions are dominating. We'll start in sunny Southern California, where a weather impact alert has been issued due to heat that is on the rise. Evan Narani, how hot will it get for San Diego County?
Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Evan Narani in San Diego, and we're starting off our Wednesday with sunny skies. It is a beautiful morning. I will say by the time we get to the afternoon, we're expecting temperatures to warm up quite a bit. Here is what we see outside. Blue skies really since the sunrise, and that's been a rare scene for us over the last several weeks, considering we typically have had that dense marine layer of clouds that pushes onshore and rests around the western slopes of the mountains each morning. It's typically around 9, 10, 11 a.m. sometimes that we wait for that cloud layer to pull its way back and for us to get that afternoon sunshine. Instead, we saw that ridge of high pressure kind of pushing all those clouds off the shore as early as 5 a.m. today, right around sunrise time. We had just a few passing clouds, and now views look a lot like this through the rest of the day. We're expecting temperatures in turn to warm up quite a bit. This is what we saw this morning from most of our South Bay locations, and Pine Valley, Hamul, already seeing those temperatures climb into the 70s as we kick off the morning. Sweetwater Reservoir looking great. We do have two things to alert you of in terms of watches, warnings, and advisories. First off, a heat advisory that is in the areas in orange on your screen. That encompasses Fallbrook, Santee, Ramona, Hamul, Pine Valley, like we talked about just a few hours ago, already seeing that sun and barely any of that cloud cover. As 90s come into play along our inland valleys, we'll be seeing our desert locations, Borrego Springs, Ocotillo Wells, upwards of 110 degrees. In most cases, will surpass 115 toward those desert locations. And then you make your way out to areas like Imperial County, and we could even be seeing temperatures up to 118 degrees. This heat wave that we're seeing everywhere east of the coastline is going to be something to watch for today, Wednesday, and tomorrow, Thursday, as those temperatures climb into that above average range. That's the 2-day stretch that we're talking about that I will say is not all that long of a time frame. It's pretty short-lived in terms of the time we're covering for this heat wave and this ridge of high pressure overhead. Inland is the emphasis. Coastline still stays very mild, mostly in the 70s each afternoon moving forward. So make sure to hydrate, seek shade, and stay cool out there. That is where we call for extra water on hand, wide-brimmed hat, loose, light-colored clothing, and taking frequent breaks if you are going to be spending time doing strenuous activity in the sunlight. Afternoon highs look like this. Notice that as you leave the coastline, we start to really see that heat being felt. Now, average right now for a lot of our inland valley locations is about 83 and 84 degrees. We are going to be well above that for the majority of our inland valleys. Escondido, for example, going for 90, Ramona 97, Alpine 91 along with Julian, which is why a lot of people wanted to get those hikes underway earlier on in the morning when we were in the 70s as opposed to as we head toward the 90s. Coastline stays in the 70s, though, for the main days ahead. While we are a little bit warmer than average out along the coastline today and tomorrow, we start to slide as we get into the weekend. Low 70s expected. Partly cloudy to mostly sunny skies. Might have a bit more activity to that marine layer for the days ahead once that ridge of high pressure starts to migrate off to the west. So that ridge is what's keeping us warm. That ridge is what is keeping us in the clearer range for the morning hours. And that's why we're also calling for 2 weather impact alert days. Today and tomorrow are those days where as we head into the summer months, we just want to remind you of the dangers of spending too much time in the sun, heat exhaustion, heat stroke, all concerns as we head into the next couple months and we get these ridges building overhead and allowing for those warmer than normal temperatures. Finally, a cool down comes as we get into the end of the week and the weekend. We are back to average. So for now, about 10 degrees warmer than average, then back to average as we get into the weekend. Same goes for the mountains and deserts as those temperatures slide from near 100 degrees across the mountains for tomorrow afternoon all the way down to about 90 by Saturday, that nice 10-degree drop in temperatures. It's also going to be felt across the deserts as we slide from 115 down to about 107 by this time next week.
Thank you, Evan. We'll head up now the I-5 to Northern California, where July heat is also settling in. Let's check in with Monica Woods and have a look at the triple digits expected for parts of the Sacramento Valley this weekend.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods out of Northern California with our regional headlines, including a big shift in our weather pattern. Less fog along the coast. We're going to have 100s making a return to the valley. For the foothills, we'll be close to 100, still dry in the Sierra, so we remain shower and thunderstorm free there. Getting a taste of summer heat, though, in the forecast. Highs for our Wednesday in the low to mid 90s up and down the valley, so we're not quite to that big heat yet. 60s along the coast, still have some morning low clouds and fog clearing for the afternoon. 80s and 90s in the foothills and 70s up top for the Tahoe Basin. Our heat risk starts to build, though, for our Thursday and Friday. As you can see, it's expanding throughout much of the valley, the foothills, and even towards the coast. We'll continue to see that into our Friday. It will scale back just a little bit into our Saturday as we start to see some more moderating temperatures, and that'll be good heading into the weekend. But you can see our departures from normal. We're going to be up by about 5 to almost 10 degrees for Thursday and Friday, still above average for the weekend. Average high is 93 degrees at this point in the year. This happens to be our warmest and driest month of the year. As you can see, we've warmed those average high temperatures up through July. We're not too far below that into August, so we still have a couple more months to go of our real big heat in Northern California. Average number of days, though, in the 100s is 16. We've only had 3, and our record is 35 days. We're way behind that pace. 105 degree days, we usually have 4, and we have yet to see a 105 degree day. Not that anybody's complaining, though. Our high-resolution futurecast showing those offshore winds still fairly light here. We are going to pull in a bit of that onshore flow coming into our Wednesday forecast. That's what keeps us below the 100s, but that shift happens
on Thursday when a big ridge of high pressure starts to build in. What that's going to do is reduce the fog along the coast. We're going to see stronger north winds. That's going to be very dry. So again, less in the way of fog along the coast, and we get the heat building in the valley. Let's talk temperatures for our Wednesday. Highs in the 70s, kind of that last day to get out there with a touch of that cooler air. 80s and 90s throughout the foothills. Traveling southward into the central Sierra for Yosemite, 91 degrees for our midweek outlook here. Pinehurst at 86. We're at 92 for Oakhurst and 98 for Fresno. As we move towards the central coast, highs are going to be in the 60s and 70s. We still have a bit of that onshore flow, so that'll give us periodic low cloudiness and fog with afternoon clearing. San Luis Obispo at 78 degrees, Paso Robles at 98, San Lucas at 96, and for Hollister, 84 degrees as we're traveling over towards the central coast. Along the Bay Area, highs in the 60s coast side, and then as we move inland into the coastal valley regions, highs will be in the 80s to near 90 with mostly sunny skies. Along the northwest coast, highs in the 50s and 60s, just a tad inland. We get back into the 80s and 90s, but at least the northern Sacramento Valley staying out of widespread 100s for that last day there. The capital region also seeing highs in the 90s with cool overnight lows near 60. As we zoom in a little bit closer, you'll see those low to mid 90s, pretty typical for the middle and early part of July with mostly sunny skies for Wednesday. Our regional 5-day forecast shows the warm up in play even for the mountains. Sunny skies will prevail. Highs in the 80s to almost 90 for the upcoming weekend. We're in the 90s to almost 100 through the foothills and for the coast. Again, a mix of sun and clouds, but Friday a warm one for us. Highs in San Francisco close to 70. A look at our extended forecast. We're going to keep it in the low 90s for Wednesday, 100s Thursday and Friday before we see some slightly cooler weather ahead for Saturday and Sunday into next week.
Thank you, Monica. Still ahead after the break, heat has been the forefront of every forecast so far, but one region in the west is the polar opposite. That's right, rain, yeah, hard to believe, is rolling through the Pacific Northwest today. Our meteorologists in Seattle and Portland show you the much different conditions passing through to the north today. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. The Pacific Northwest is known for gorgeous summers, but the occasional disturbance can pass through and bring a little bit of rain. That's the case today. We will start in Seattle, where gray skies and spotty showers have arrived. Rich Marriott has the details of how long this relief from the summer heat will last.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Rich Marriott, and boy, a big change in the weather around western Washington from yesterday to today. We had some highs yesterday in the mid to upper 80s. Those areas may drop to the mid to upper 60s for the highs today, as we do have a cold front pushing its way into western Washington this morning. You can see that frontal band stretched across the northwest tip of the state right now, working its way into the Olympic Peninsula. Most of the rainfall taking place out there along the coast, and then up there in the northern counties, Whatcom, Skagit, San Juan counties, places where you're seeing more consistent rain and where you see this more significant rainfall take place. Elsewhere, we are seeing a few light showers or sprinkles once you get down there to the south of Everett, but that's not going to amount to very much, it doesn't look like. And once that does move through, we're going to see a little bit of a convergence zone form as we head into the afternoon, primarily north of Seattle up towards the Everett area, but places away from there we might actually start to see a little bit of clearing. But this morning we've been watching most of that rainfall take place up there in Whatcom and Skagit counties, and we'll see that turn into more off and on showers as that moves on through and off to the east. This is something we haven't seen for a little while, is the raindrops on the camera lens there in Bellingham, and looking like a very wet morning, though it isn't all that wet. They're looking for a few tenths of an inch out of this. Take a look at the Everett Tower cam, some occasional showers there, and looking very gray starting off the day. And up and down the sound, a lot more cloudiness this morning than we've seen in recent days, that's for sure. Checking there in Tacoma, I see looking a little bit drier as you go farther south. In fact, we've seen some sun breaks out in the distance at times this morning. And out along the coast, you can see definitely seeing the rain coming down out there at Westport this morning. Checking our pollen count from yesterday when we had the sunshine and warm temperatures. If your allergies were bothering you, it was the weeds. They were in the high range yesterday. Both grasses and trees remained the same readings as the day before, low and moderate. Take a look at our first alert 7-day forecast. You can see this is just a one-day wonder. We're going to see the cool temperatures and some showers today. Those should wrap up tomorrow morning, and then we gradually warm right back up into sunny and warm as we head towards the weekend. Take a look at the satellite image. A lot of clouds with the system, but not a whole lot of precipitation. That's going to be moving right on through here. Like I said, we'll see a little bit of convergence zone behind it, and then high pressure is going to start building in here, and that's going to dry us out as we head towards tomorrow and on into the weekend. Checking the rainfall amounts, actually pretty respectable for the month of July. We're going to be looking for anywhere from 1/10 to maybe 2/10 of an inch up there in some of the northern counties during the day today. Once you get south of there, you can see not much, either just a trace or just a few hundredths of an inch most spots. And then as we head towards overnight tonight, picking up just a little bit more from those convergence zone showers. But overall, at this time of the year, any precipitation we get is welcome around here, especially if it doesn't come with any lightning. Checking the mountain forecast, well, it's still looking dry there at Mount Rainier right now. It may not stay that way as we're looking for the showers to move into the Cascades as we head towards this afternoon. Wettest portion of the Cascades is going to be up to the north of Stevens Pass, where they could get half an inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch of rain out of that. And then taking a look at tomorrow, if you're going to put off your hiking for just a day, should be considerably better. We should clear out to partly sunny. Temperatures tomorrow climbing up into the low to mid 60s at the highway pass levels. Look at those temperatures today. Like I said, yesterday we had some mid to upper 80s, and today those temperatures struggling to get up into the upper 60s, and only a few places making it to near 70 degrees. We reverse course tomorrow. You see those temperatures starting to warm back up again. Upper 60s up in the northern counties, low to mid 70s, roughly Seattle southward, and then back to what we've been seeing recently with the temperatures generally in the 80s as we head towards Friday. Take a look at our weekend forecast. Sunny and warm temperatures getting into the upper 70s and low to some mid 80s. We do start to warm up towards midweek. Mid to upper 80s on Tuesday might actually creep into the 90-degree range as we head towards the middle part of next week, but then cool as we head towards the following weekend.
A one-day wonder. I love that. Okay. Well, as Rich just showed you, that rain is sticking around to the north, so Portland down to the south won't get to tap into as much moisture, but will get to tap into some of those cooler temperatures. Let's go now to Rod Hill, who's keeping an eye on those cooler temperatures in parts of western Oregon, as eastern parts of the state also keep an eye on hot and dry conditions.
On a Wednesday, I'm meteorologist Rod Hill coming to you from the beautiful city of Portland. We have ourselves a nice morning, but we are expecting to cloud over during the day today. It's a march of cooler weather, producing some light rain up in Washington, maybe down into Astoria, just south of the Columbia. I think it would be traceable amounts of rain. Other than that, Portland down I-5 to Medford, it'll be a dry day. We are seeing sunshine, but again, we expect to cloud over eventually. The concern areas today both lit up for fire weather warnings or red flag warnings. Two separate areas and two separate reasons. This first region from White Salmon on the Washington side of the Columbia River Gorge and extending out into Pendleton up into Washington is strictly because of gusty west winds. There's a push of cooler weather coming in. That increases the winds blowing through the gorge out into the Columbia Basin. Could be some gusts to about 40 miles per hour today. So if there's a spark, that could quickly flame that into a brush fire. So that is a weather warning for fire today. Lakeview, south central Oregon, and then up into parts of Baker County and over into Boise, red flag warning for high fire danger because of potential thunderstorm activity again today. We had some lightning strikes in central Oregon yesterday on Tuesday, and we did have some new fire starts. No information into our newsroom that any of that really got out of hand, but that'll be monitored carefully once again today. So what I just talked about, the Columbia River Gorge from about White Salmon eastward out into the basin in southeastern Oregon, red flag warnings, gusty west winds coming out of the gorge, 30 to 40, and the possible lightning, even dry lightning strikes in eastern Oregon. Futurecast shows the cloudiness still expected to be rolling in here to the west side from Portland and down towards Salem. Now, as I play this into the afternoon, there's that scattered thunderstorm threat. Not overly impressive, but it is there, and that's the reason for the high fire danger today. This shows the clouds from Portland up to Seattle, but then clearing eventually as you go down toward the mid and south Willamette valleys. Tomorrow, no storm threat in Oregon. Thursday should be completely dry, starting off with some cloudiness here on the west side, and then that clears out. We'll still be comfortable. It looks like we'll get back to a warming weather pattern on Friday going into the weekend. Some live cameras for you on this Wednesday. This was really socked in earlier in the morning, but now showing a little bit of blue up top with some thin fog out over the Pacific waters. Our Chinook Winds Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City. Mount Hood Summit has just been beautifully clear to start our Wednesday, but could see some cloudiness coming in this afternoon at mid-levels. If that's the case, that would reach Timberline Lodge up there at 6,000 feet. And Salem right on the edge of where it could cloud over, but then start to break up for partly cloudy skies this afternoon. That's our state capital here in Oregon, of course. And downtown Portland, again, looking for increasing cloudiness as we get rolling through the day. Futurecast showing the cloud cover. Now, so far, Futurecast has been overdoing this, so we'll see if we end up clouding over or not. It does show the cloudiness into Thursday morning, and then here's Thursday afternoon starting to clear out. So our forecast numbers for what will be, no matter how this plays out, a very comfortable Wednesday. 80 in Salem, 77 in McMinnville. Again, we've been around 90 the last couple of days. West winds just 5 to 15 miles per hour in the valley. Now, southwest Washington, Kelso Longview has seen cloudy skies. Only 71 expected, and you probably stay cloudy today. Clark County has varying degrees of cloudiness, but expected to cloud over and hold in the mid-70s. Our forecast temperatures across our state this afternoon, still a 91 in Pendleton, but remember that was 100 yesterday, so the heat advisories for the Columbia Basin have been lifted. There's that thunderstorm threat mainly out in far eastern Oregon. Portland 7-day, here it comes, 75 today, 78 tomorrow. We're back to clear near 90-degree weather on Friday, stays that way through the weekend.
Thank you, Rod. Still ahead after the break, heat in the west is top of mind for most of us, but we do continue to keep an eye on flooding potential to the east. A look at the big picture, still ahead. Well, as we've mentioned, summer heat is top of mind for most of us on the west coast, but our friends to the east are keeping an eye on some flooding risks as well. Chris Ramirez has the national forecast.
Hello, I'm KHULF meteorologist Chris Ramirez. We are expecting an active pattern for much of the south and into the northeast. There is flood watches in effect from D.C. all the way to Raleigh. Even New York City, just south of there, seeing those flood watches as we could see some more of those heavier storms. We're already seeing those storms and showers out in Michigan, out in Indiana. As we look at areas across Texas, there are still the possibility for more scattered showers on storms. Unfortunately, especially for the areas that have been hit by the recent floods. As we head into tomorrow, we're expecting temperatures to be in the 80s. Stormy conditions all across the northeast from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C., even Pittsburgh, 85 degrees. A bit on the cooler side in Boston to Portland, but mostly scattered showers. And that's going to be the case for much of the south as well, as temps are also going to be warmer. Highs in the 90s. We could see feels like temps in the mid 90s when you factor in the humidity as well as that Gulf humidity. 87 for Jackson, New Orleans 92, Jacksonville 93. Across Texas and much of the south central U.S., we're expecting windy conditions out in Amarillo. Oklahoma City 97 degrees, so temperatures soaring into the upper 90s, potentially hitting 100. There is a high pressure system that's going to be situated across the desert southwest that's going to keep conditions mostly dry and hot, and that's the reason why we're expecting those hot conditions, especially out in California, even Arizona. Out in the Midwest, highs in the 90s. We could see more of those scattered showers and storms from Omaha to Minneapolis, but 111 degrees for a high out in Las Vegas. Phoenix, 114. Typical summer type conditions. Reno at 93 degrees, and across the Pacific Northwest, highs in the 80s and 70s. So we could see a few showers and storms out in the Seattle area. So as far as our temperature outlook, temperatures are expected to remain above average, especially for the eastern portions of the U.S. That's through July 15th to July 19th. We're going to be at below normal from the panhandle of Texas all the way to the Big Bend area. Could see more warmer temperatures out in the Pacific Northwest. As far as our tropics, we are expecting quiet conditions, no development expected for the next 7 days. We have some Saharan dust that's currently making its way through the Gulf into Texas, and there's going to be another plume of that heading into Sunday and Monday of next week. So we could be looking at more of this dust, and of course that really does suppress that tropical formation and keeping things a bit on the quieter side for the tropics, especially for the Atlantic Basin. As far as your city forecast for today, Seattle 69, San Diego 84, Phoenix at 117, Dallas-Fort Worth at 93. So very hot conditions for areas across the southwest U.S. D.C. at 90, but there is going to be a stormy outlook for areas across the eastern portions of the country, with New Orleans at 92, Atlanta at 93 degrees, Tampa at 91.
Thank you, Chris. Of course, in the West, we are blessed with dry heat, not a lot of humidity out here. Well, have you seen it growing in the sky? Our full moon is about to peak for the month. Up next, we'll talk about the details of when it will peak and show you some gorgeous shots already snapped of the growing moon. Welcome back to Weather Out West. We're so glad you're with us. Let's take the conversations above our atmosphere. We are nearing a full moon. This month's full moon technically arrives Thursday, July 10th in the afternoon at 1:36 p.m. That's tomorrow. So tonight and the next few nights, we will have a great chance to view the near full moon. This month's full moon has multiple names, all deriving from Native American heritage, and are all in line with the different events that are going on this season and this time of year. The buck moon name comes from male deer or bucks starting to recrow their antlers this time of the year. Thunder moon comes from an increase in thunderstorms this time of the year. That's something we know very well thanks to this Weather Out West show. We've been talking about it a lot in many of our regions. Thunderstorms are most common in spring and summer, and in the afternoon and evening. That's because warm, moist air is necessary for thunderstorms, and this is the time of the year, and that's the time of day when we get that. The hay name comes because this is the time of year when farmers cut their hay. Farmers need multiple days of hot and dry weather to harvest, and early summer is the best window of opportunity for them to do that. The salmon name comes because this is the time of year when salmon start to migrate from the ocean back to their freshwater rivers and streams to get ready to spawn in the fall. And finally, the raspberry moon name stems from raspberries and other berries turning ripe and getting ready for harvest. I know I have been enjoying a lot of great berries recently. So those are all the names for the full moon, but of course the new moon arrives 2 weeks after that. July 24th is the new moon, and the sky will be darkest and be a great opportunity to watch for astronomical events like meteor showers, which we have tons going on. The Perseid meteor shower is expected later on this month. We've seen some great viewer photos so far of the nearly full moon. Let's get to some of those. A lot of these are from Washington, our friends up to the north. This is a beautiful image from Bothell. It's a town northeast of Seattle. Oh my goodness, what a spectacular. That's got to be a high quality camera. That's not a cell phone photo there. This one is another high quality photo from Bellevue, just east of Seattle. Zoomed out a little bit more, but you can see it's not quite full. There's a little bit of that darkness on the edge of the moon. So of course that full moon arrives tomorrow. So we're still about 24 hours out. A great view here. This I love because you can see that moonrise. You can also see Mount Rainier in the background. So a spectacular sight there from Enumclaw, another town in Washington. This is an iconic Seattle photo. We see that moon over the Space Needle. If you've been to the Northwest, you've probably seen the Space Needle, and it's always cool when we get to see those gorgeous views in the background of that. So great perspective from Seattle. And another one from Centralia. The moon looks bright. You can almost looks like the sun in that photo. So yes, we love when the moon reaches full capacity, and we see that bright light overnight. And let's see if we have another one. Oh yeah, of course, this one is gorgeous here over the water when you get that moon shining over the water. It is a beautiful perspective there. And another one from Bremerton, that's the Kitsap Peninsula. This shows the moon once again over Mount Rainier, a spectacular sight to be seen there. So be sure to keep your eyes up and keep an eye out for that full moon tonight. All right, so we've mentioned thunderstorms quite a few times in this show. As I said, this is the time of the year when we see the most thunderstorms, but they of course can happen any time of the year. Let's talk about what makes a thunderstorm severe, that keyword severe there. Meteorologists don't throw that term around lightly. The term severe is a technical term, and specific metrics need to be present for a storm to be considered severe. When it comes to thunderstorms, a storm is not considered severe unless it has one of these elements: either hail that is 1 inch in diameter or greater, that's about the size of a quarter, or wind gusting stronger than 57 miles per hour. A key thing to note here is that we're talking about gusts, not sustained wind. Sustained wind means we're seeing consistent wind at that speed for a 2-minute period. A gust is stronger than that and are rapid fluctuation. So those kind of one-off gusts, we know the term. So those are more sporadic. The third element that could make a storm severe is if there is a confirmed tornado. Just one of these elements needs to be present for a thunderstorm to be considered classified as severe. In the United States, here's a fun fact for you, about 10% of thunderstorms that occur are considered severe. All right, that does it for us today on this Wednesday. Thank you so much for being with us for Weather Out West. I am meteorologist Leah Pizzetti. We're so glad you spent the last hour with us. We hope to see you right back here, same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.